Attention all Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. We've added this obscenely ugly classic to the service. Donkey Kong Land. Boot it up for 40 seconds and close it forever. We've got a lot of surprising stories this week, so I'm sorting them all into this segment. I haven't seen that before. So I'm going to cover the news portion, and then after that, I will determine if it's and I want to see more or and I want to see less. Let's start with Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree being announced as a Game of the Year nominee for the Game Awards. Technically, my title on the Game Awards is a consulting producer, so typically I don't talk about them here on YouTube. It's a conflict of interest. However, I don't think it's overstepping any boundaries to say that Shadow of the Erdtree being nominated for Game of the Year is objectively bonkers. And personally, I can't even disagree with it. It's just that it used to be you could release a game on a FromSoft off year and have a chance at winning Game of the Year. Now, it'll never be safe again. DLC nominated for Game of the Year. I've never seen that before. And I want to see more. The Rogue Prince of Persia was released in early access. It was announced as early access. It's always been an early access game. They put out a trailer this week for the second act update. New story act? Sure. New bosses and enemies? We expect this. You'll be able to correct me. I don't think I've ever seen this as an advertised bullet point before. New artistic direction. And the strange thing is, I don't think it needed one. This game reviewed fairly well, right? There were criticisms. I don't think anybody said the artistic direction was inadequate, and they show you the difference here, and I don't know, it's like being at the eye doctor. I know I can tell it's different, but I don't know if it's better. Interestingly enough, another Ubisoft game had a big update this week. Star Wars Outlaws, title update 1.4. And there's this one part they say, yeah, when it was blurry before, that was an artistic choice, we take it back. Sorry about that. And that makes sense. With Rogue Prince of Persia, its art style was its whole thing. New artistic direction used as a selling point for an already artistically strong game? I've never seen that before. And I want to see more. Another surprise update came this week to the PlayStation Portal. You might remember this as the device that has one particular purpose. Streaming games from one PlayStation 5 over a Wi-Fi signal to one handheld device that is not too far away. It couldn't download games, it couldn't stream games, it was just a nice form factor for remote play, which, by the way, your phone can do. Your phone is kind of a PlayStation. Suddenly, the PlayStation Portal can now do something your phone cannot. Stream games from PlayStation's cloud service. Now, there's a lot of things I have to explain about that. It's limited to 120 plus PlayStation 5 games. You need to be subscribed to PlayStation Plus Premium. That's the one that's $17.99 US a month or $159 US a year. And as this is a beta, not all features are implemented. Sorry if you wanted to engage in in-game commerce. Anyway, I think it's not just interesting that they added this whole functionality without ever promising or hinting at it, but that they made it with such an understated announcement. Feels like the kind of thing they would have made a big deal about back in an E3 press conference. You know, people would have applauded for this. Today it's a blog post. Apparently you have to go into your settings menu to even activate it. So maybe they really are just making sure this works before making a fuss about it. Maybe it's some sort of indication of Sony's future handheld plans. Whatever the case, Sony adding functionality to a product I never wanted and will continue to not want? I've never seen that before. And I want to see more. Final Fantasy XIV Mobile was revealed this week. And it looks like Final Fantasy XIV. That's Raubon. I know him. Kind of a frustrating trailer to watch because obviously your first and most important question is, how does this game look like to play? How'd they take this MMO and convert it into a mobile game? And they're giving the impression here, it's not just the looks. They want to hit every story beat of the regular Final Fantasy XIV. And still you ask, okay, but how do you even play this? And they say, just watch, look. plays like this. But also, it's strangely nostalgic. Here's the final line.
Pray return to the waking sands at your earliest convenience.
That's not like a spicy tease that would entice new players. That's something that people who are already playing this game have heard many times before. What I'm saying is the appeal is almost like World of Warcraft Classic. They're saying relive the original story. But I'm still wondering how it's going to work as a mobile game. What concessions will be made? I was really trying to pick up some clues on the website. By the way, look at this phrase. No imposed social goals or forced engagements. Now we're talking my kind of fantasy. But they do imply that the combat will be heavily simplified, including this. Switch jobs with a single tap. 9 jobs will be available at launch, and the Armory system allows you to switch jobs freely. So what am I then? What is this game? We talked about AAA mobile ports last week, and I forgot about Destiny Rising, which was revealed just last month. Funny thing is, every time they're introducing this game, very early they want to explicitly state that it's an alternate timeline.
Hey everyone, we here at Bungie are so excited that NetEase has invited us to join them as they announce their brand new mobile game set in an alternate Destiny universe.
If you're a fan of Destiny lore, don't worry, none of this will matter. It is just a NetEase game. Anyway, you wonder how a AAA game like Destiny becomes free to play. Much like Monster Hunter Outlanders, it's unlockable characters.
We want to focus on characters, people, heroes, and legends, because that's the best way to actually express the chaos of this period.
Every playable character is a fleshed out person with a depth of personality.
And that's normal. That's how you do it generally. And so with Final Fantasy XIV, which apparently will have no subscription like the big boy version does, how are they going to profit from this? Final Fantasy XIV producer and director Naoki Yoshida says this. Our goal is to ensure that players can enjoy Final Fantasy XIV for a long time while generating a small and sustainable revenue, allowing as many people as possible to play the game. So there's no need to worry too much. Just dive in and enjoy the game. Something's missing here. It can't just be the array of outfits and glamours. A mobile game without gacha is like Donkey Kong Land. There's no reason to play it. The world's second biggest MMO becoming a straightforward free-to-play mobile game? I haven't seen that before, and I want to see less. And that's it for Delayed Input this week. Now, to explain something. I had a little early Thanksgiving trip to my grandmother's house. All right, forgive my interruption there. Fun fact about the song Jingle Bells. It's not actually about Christmas. The song was written, they're going over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house for Thanksgiving. It's not a Christmas song, but obviously it is now. Anyway, I went over the river and through the woods to my grandmother's house for an early Thanksgiving thing. That's why I was so confused about which week Thanksgiving is. I know now for sure it is next week. So Delayed Input might be early next week. We'll see. Until then, thanks for watching. All right, so the biggest story of the week, the biggest hubbub, actually started with this one Reuters report. Exclusive. Sony is in talks to buy media powerhouse behind Elden Ring. That media powerhouse is Kadokawa, who primarily publishes a lot of anime and manga. As you can see, gaming is just part of what they do. But that Reuters editor putting Elden Ring in the title, that makes it spicy. That was a good idea. It gets clicks. Anyway, I didn't want to get too into the acquisition itself because it might not happen. Kadokawa themselves did confirm. They said the company has received an initial letter of intent to acquire the company's shares, but no decision has been made at this time. So who knows? It might just not happen. It might just be, getting upset over nothing. But I did want to get into how strange that particular Reuters exclusive article actually is. For some reason, they go greatly in depth into explaining what Elden Ring is before ever telling the reader what Kadokawa is. Firstly, you gotta know the critically acclaimed title is a collaboration between veteran game director Hidetaka Miyazaki and Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. The game, which depicts an atmospheric world where players battle monsters in quest to repair the Elden Ring, has sold 25 million units and been widely praised. Sick. We have to hear about Shadow of the Erdtree, of course. And then, Finally, Kadokawa began as a publisher in 1945, but has expanded into games, anime, events, and figures with franchises such as Re:Zero, in which a teenage boy is summoned to a fantasy world. So I've got two problems with that sentence. Firstly, last thing you talked about was a video game. So when you just call Kadokawa a publisher, it's not clear what they were publishing in 1945. Probably books. Secondly, and this might not be obvious unless you're scrolling through the front page of Crunchyroll, but a teenage boy being summoned into a fantasy world is basically 80 to 90% of all new anime. You could not have been less descriptive. And lastly, this is just a neat thing. I didn't know this existed. So the Kadokawa financial report I was looking at mentions an Elden Ring vertical scrolling title called Elden Ring Become a Lord. And I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up. It's this vertical scrolling title. I learned something new today. And then I saw Russian, which means I probably accidentally pirated this. Please delete this video.